Hi everyone, welcome to Sailing Quebec. Today's video is going to talk about how to repair a soft spot on a sailboat balsa core deck. Soft spots are caused by water infiltration and creates a trampoline effect, as you can see. So basically the deck is a fiberglass sandwich with a wooden balsa block core. When water gets in and rottens the wood, the fiberglass delaminates, and after a couple of years it becomes so weak that you could go through just by stepping on it. So back to my repairs, I had two spots to repair, one pretty big on the center line between the mast and the companionway, the other a lot smaller on the side of the roof. I started with the small spot to practice for the big one. So the first step is drawing the area to cut. I started by drawing with a pen on the soft area, touching it with my bare feet. I draw the line pretty much where the layer stopped being soft and started being hard. Second step, cutting the top layer. I first used a dremmel to cut through the deck, but I realized it wasn't the best tool. Here's the reason why. My dremmel is a pretty cheap entry-level one, and the blade was easily stuck. Also, since the blade is pretty small and I have a 90 degrees angle to the tool, it's hard to make a nice continuous straight line. For the second patch I used a grinder with a thin zipcut blade. It was a lot easier and quicker with better results. So step 3, cleaning the mess. Here we can see how it looks once open. All the wood is loaded with water like a sponge, with remaining resin between blocks here and there. I started to clean using a scraper and a chisel. Dremmel was also pretty handy. On the side of the spot I made sure to go under the top layer at least 1 inch to get perfectly dry wood. Also by doing that I make sure I have a good solid transition between the repair I'm doing and the remaining deck. I will later on put some wood block in that 1 inch slit, and the original fiberglass layer will go back in place with proper support. After the area was clean of any remaining wood and resin, I let it dry for 48 hours on a hot summer day. I sanded with 80 grit paper, vacuumed it with shop vac, and finished cleaning with acetone and a towel that doesn't leave residue. Those 3 steps, sanding, vacuuming and acetone cleaning, I will repeat every time I apply a new layer of resin on dry resin. So step number 4, epoxy resin, hardener and filling powder. Now comes the epoxy part. I use the West System products, the 05 resin, the 205 quick hardener and the 404 filling powder, which is precisely made for construction uses. You can buy pumps to make your mix, but I prefer using electronic scale for precision concerns, and especially with big quantities mix. They come pretty cheap on Amazon, like 20 bucks. You can check the links for the West System product in the description of the video. The mixing part is easy, 1 part of hardener for 5 parts of resin. You can use the mix pure or add a filler to get it to a semi-thickened or a mayonnaise texture. With the quick hardener 205 you got around 10 to 15 minutes before it starts thickening, but you have to mix it in the cup while working with it. The reaction being exothermic, the center of the cup will heat and dry faster than the sides if you stop mixing for more than like 30 seconds. Also, when the mix is thickened, it's a lot harder to mix it properly and the mix will dry faster than pure resin mix. When adding resin on a previous layer, I will put a layer of pure resin before putting some thickened resin. The idea being to make sure that the link between the layers is as strong and sticky as possible. So step number 5, the new core. There are different products you can use to rebuild the core. Balsa core blocks are sold glued to a thin fiberglass sheet. There is also the honeycomb structural core, but both are pretty expensive. For my repair I use ordinary cheap pine pieces, cutting them so that the wood fiber would be vertical. Main reason being the low cost and the ability to make the thickness variable because the center of the spots are deeper than the sides. Marine plywood would also be a good choice, but for maybe smaller and flat spots. So step number 6, getting it done. This step is subdivided in 9 sub-steps. So sub-step number 1, use some painting tape on the edge of both spot and top layer. Step number 2, pour non-thickened resin mix generously in the hole. Step number 3, put a layer of fiberglass. Step number 4, pour non-thickened resin mix to fill the fiber and use a paintbrush on the inside of the border slit. Step number 5, make a thickened mix, fill the border and put a 1 centimeter layer on the whole patch. Step number 6, put the wooden block in place on the border, first making sure the cut of the top layer sits well on the block. Step number 7, pour a small amount of pure resin, add a layer of fiberglass, and push it in with a scraper under the top layer around the spot, between the wooden block and the top layer all around. Step number 8, pour a semi-thickened mix in the whole area. The mix must flow easily in the cracks and leave no air bubbles. The reason why I don't use a pure mix at this point is because both my working areas have an angle on them. Step number 9, make a thickened mix. Use it to smoothen the whole area. Use some unthickened mix on the top layer, put it back in place. Use more mix than necessary so that when you put the top back in, there is some mix spilling out by the cut. This will ensure you don't have air bubble underneath. Put some weight on the top until it's dry. So step number 9, the final touch in 3 steps. Step number 1, sand the edge with a 80 to 120 grit. Make sure you sand an extra 2 inch around the cuts until you get to the fiberglass. Then use thickened mix to smoothen the cuts. Step number 2, resand to 100 and 120 grit. Hand sand the top layer, clean with acetone. Step number 3, paint 2 layers using a fine 4-inch roll and Interlux polyurethane paint. The Brightside white with light blue is the one I used. Et voila! You will find in the comment section, along with the links for the West System product, the full description of the video with step-by-step guide. If you got any opinion, question or critics, feel free to comment. If you like the video, well, there's always the like button. Have a good day, sailor.